Buenos dias. Estoy en Cabo San Lucas, and the sound of heavy breathing is Maggie over there taking a rest on our walk slash fetch in this beautiful dry riverbed that I found in Cabo. Here's going to be a fun video for some of you, and will probably be pretty troubling and a fun thought experiment for others. For me, it's definitely a thought, a really fun, intellectual, animal rights, human rights, politics, spirituality, just thought problem that my buddy Jordan brought up to me when my buddies Jason and Jordan were visiting me in La Paz. Jordan is vegan. He's been one of my closest best friends for probably like 10 years, and he's also a devout Christian and believer of and follower of Jesus and lover of Jesus. He grew up in Christianity, I will say that. His dad is a pastor, but Jordan really found his faith later in life than just growing up. He became more devout, living the Christian path when he was probably like 18, 19, 20 or something. He got more into it, and Jordan is pro-life, anti-abortion. He believes that abortion should be illegal. And I, as a progressive, can think the complete opposite, and I still think that, even after Jordan and I talked. And in this video, I'm going to discuss the very logical thought experiment that Jordan laid out, which is pretty irrefutable. You can't deny it, which is that abortion is inherently non-vegan. Now, because I so believe in an adult woman's right to choose whether she's going to have a baby or not, and I'll get deeper as the video goes on, I still take my stance of being pro-choice, and that abortion should be a choice for any women to make, honestly, at any stage of the pregnancy. That's kind of how pro-choice I am, and I'll get into why. Even though, after talking with Jordan, I can fully admit that my choice to be pro-choice is speciesist in a way, and it is anti-vegan. And here's why. But I still choose to be pro-choice and to allow women that they should have the right to have an abortion. Here's why. So if the tenet of animal rights and of the vegan lifestyle is that the powerless, the voiceless, should be able to have rights to live and live freely, even if talking and reason and intellect has nothing to do with it, simply because animals have the ability to suffer. That's essentially the point of veganism. You know, cows and pigs and chickens, they can't talk, they're never going to be able to vote, they can't read, but we know they're sentient because they can feel pain, they have relationships with humans, just as dogs or some pet pigs and cows do, and they clearly have relationships within their own species. And even though they can't organize for themselves and speak intellectually about how much it's terrible, how terrible it is for them that we're confining them, torturing them, abusing them, and then ultimately killing them, vegans think that even though they can't speak that, we can understand that a sentient being doesn't want to be killed. Thus, being vegan is saying, I'm going to protest animal cruelty, and I'm not going to contribute into that industry, into that practice. So when you take that on the lines of abortion, the way Jordan explained it to me was, okay, let's take a 6-month-old baby, a 6-month pregnant woman with a baby in her belly. This baby has never been out into the open air. This baby has no friends. It probably has some thoughts, like, because a baby can be born prematurely. Jordan said Jordan was born at 6 months old, then he was put into an incubator. Now, the moment that that baby is birthed, it is clearly sentient. If you slap that baby, hit that baby, it starts crying, I don't know what babies do, moving their mouth, pooping. I'm probably not pooping for a few days. I don't know. I don't know this. But clearly, you would say that when a baby is birthed out of a woman, it's clearly sentient. It can feel pain. It doesn't know what's going on, but it's a sentient being. So does that mean the day before, when it was in the stomach, it wasn't sentient? No, it clearly was. It could have been born that day too. Okay, well, what about a month before? What about a 7-month-old baby? Yeah, it's got fingernails, it's pumping its own blood in its heart. Sure, the mom has to eat in order to feed it. It's not a completely independent entity, but neither are mentally, people with mental disabilities who can never feed themselves and can never eat even. We're not going to go and kill those people who are out in the world, not in a womb, but still, logically, if we don't kill those people, why are we killing a baby that's sentient but it's still in the womb? Then let's go back 5 months. Is a baby sentient at 5 months? Is it sentient at 4 months? Now, I'm not a scientist of birth. I don't know. But based on what Jordan and I talked about and the little research we did, I'm pretty sure that even a few weeks into the pregnancy, 5 or 6 weeks, I think there's some sentience that is starting. I guarantee you, once they start to have hands and a body and skin and then start kicking, they're clearly feeling. They are humans. They are babies, the exact same thing as a baby that is 2 weeks birthed and really cute, and you would never advocate to kill that baby. A baby in the womb is honestly not that much different when it comes to just what it is. Sure, it's not experiencing the world, it can't make any independent choices, but it is a human animal that is sentient. So, aborting that baby is non-vegan in the exact same way that in that killing a baby human or an adult human or an animal is also not vegan. It's unnecessary killing. Now, here's where we get to the unnecessary part. Well, what if the mother doesn't want to have the baby, isn't emotionally or financially ready to have a child, and is going to birth this child into a world in a very shitty circumstance, which is going to be terrible for the child? You could also argue that that is a level of suffering that maybe you wouldn't want. So is it better to abort? Well, Jordan's response was, hey, if the mother really didn't want to have the baby, she found out she was pregnant, she had sex, which there's an option of getting pregnant, so she made the choice to do that. This is how Jordan was framing it. She made the choice to have sex, there's a possibility of having a baby, she's pregnant. Now you could either abort the baby, which is non-vegan, as I just explained, killing a sentient being, or you can, and by the way, I should say, Jordan and I both agree that actually Jordan thinks that you shouldn't even be able to abort something at the moment of being conceived, the moment that the humans have sex. That is just ridiculous to me. I would hope that everybody agrees that if we scientifically knew a moment where the fetus became like a baby as a sentient being in the womb, that before sentience, everyone should be okay with abortion if the woman doesn't want it, because it's just a bundle of cells. But of course, religious people and some non-religious people who don't believe in abortion think that it's wrong entirely. So Jordan's solution to this problem that I've addressed, where what if the mother is not spiritually, financially, emotionally ready to have a child, or just doesn't want to have the child? Jordan's response is, well, there are many options where you can give your baby up for adoption immediately after birthing it. So then the baby gets to live, you're not killing the baby, you're still within the vegan framework, the mother doesn't have to raise it. Isn't that just a perfect solution? My problem with that solution is, what if the woman also spiritually and emotionally doesn't want to have a child of her bloodline in the world that she's not raising? That could cause trauma to the kid later on, potentially, when he finds out that his mother put him up for adoption immediately. It could cause psychological trauma to the human woman, knowing that she has a baby, that she didn't want to have a baby in this world. But Jordan's response to all of that was still, hey, well, an adult woman who made the choice to have sex, who's going to be sad that she had a baby that's now up for adoption, he thinks that that's still like the suffering of the baby dying in the womb and aborting a fetus is more suffering and less vegan than the woman being forced to have the baby then giving it up for adoption. I just completely disagree with that. And here, so I sort of gave you Jordan's stance, which makes a lot of sense. If we're just talking like mathematical logic, he wins here when it comes to is vegan, that abortion is not vegan, as I just addressed. Once there's a sentient being, even if it can't talk, it can't do these things, vegans say that we shouldn't unnecessarily kill, and abortion is killing a baby. If you have a problem with that, don't even talk. Like, a baby in a womb is a baby. And when you abort it, you are killing it. Again, I'm fine with that because I am super pro-choice, and now let me tell you why. First off, I care more, and this is the speciesist thing. It's not really speciesist, it's more like ageist or something. I care about the suffering of an adult human woman who's like in the air and lives a life and has lived a life and has a family and has thoughts and maybe has a job or goes to school and all this stuff, has a complex life. I care more about her than I care about the baby in the womb. That's the speciesist part. Just as people who eat meat, they clearly care more about dogs than they do about cows, but there's no actual logical reason for that, and they're okay with murdering cows, but they would hate killing a dog, even though there's no difference spiritually, emotionally between those two animals. Physically, when it comes to physical pain, I am the same in that I don't care about a baby who has no concept of reality in the outside world, maybe has some thoughts in the womb, but has no perspective to know that it has a mom. It doesn't know anything. You know, we know a baby when it comes out of the womb, it also can't do anything. So think about when it's in the womb, it's just like blissed out in existence without knowing anything, just existing in there. And it doesn't make me sad or even it doesn't just feel unethical to me to kill that baby, which probably doesn't take too long of a process. I don't know actually exactly how abortions work, and it's probably different at different stages, but the amount of suffering that's going to happen from that baby dying in the womb, it just doesn't strike me as something that I care about as much as an adult human woman not being able to make the choice to abort her child when she had sex, which everyone freaking does, and then she screwed up, or maybe the guy screwed up, who knows, accidentally she had a baby, and I care more about her freedom of choice to say, I'm actually not gonna have the baby. I care more about her than I care about the life of the baby who hasn't experienced the outside world yet. And that is why I'm pro-choice, and that I think that this situation is different than just the simple vegan logical path. Like Jordan was trying to get me to change my values, saying, dude, if you claim you're vegan and claim that all animals from fish to caterpillars to cows and turkeys shouldn't be unnecessarily killed if we don't need to, then you shouldn't believe in abortion. You should just say everyone who gets pregnant, if they don't want the baby, they should give it up for adoption or just freaking raise it because we want to live in a vegan world. I think, or a world with less harming. Forget the word vegan. I still think that this situation is different. I do. I don't think that we should kill animals unnecessarily, but I do think that adult human women, honestly, and here's the controversial part, at any stage of the pregnancy should be able to abort. And correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm sounding crazy, and my thoughts can completely evolve and change here, but like literally the day before the baby is supposed to be born, I still want the woman to have the right to choose that, because again, I am speciesist in that I care more about an adult woman's choice than I freaking care about this baby who still has the potential to live a full life, but is still in the womb and has never experienced the world yet and doesn't know yet. I still give the power to the woman. And here's probably my biggest bias. Bias is a kind of the wrong word to use because it's really a scientific bias. It's not a prejudice bias, but as someone who's really into sustainability and trying to make our world and our ecosystem healthy, and I'm just so disturbed and saddened by human-caused climate change and how stupid we are when we know how we need to change immediately as a human race if we want to save human lives, preserve cities and coastal communities that we've built, preserve the wildlife around us. You know, climate change is propelling us into a chaotic world where one day we'll no longer be able to grow food in the places we grow food. Coastal communities will be flooded. Species will become extinct. The air will become polluted. It will be harder to get organic food. The glaciers will melt, rising the sea levels, and by 2050, there might be no fish in the ocean. Now, the world will be fine with climate change. The world as a world can withstand anything. It's just going to evolve. Human species are going to evolve. Humans will go extinct, all this stuff. But climate change is just trying to mitigate all that shitty change and try to preserve things for future generations so that we live in a more balanced ecosystem versus the world we're creating, which is completely imbalanced and is going to cause a lot of violence. So because I care so much about climate change and sustainability, and that's one of the reasons I'm vegan, and also one of the reasons I live on a bicycle, just, you know, no longer taking buses or cars or planes in the form of transportation. I think the thing that I do by traveling by bicycle is inspiring to people to be more sustainable themselves. It's one of the reasons why I do this lifestyle, which I have to sacrifice a lot. I move very slowly, but it's important to me. So, and I got my degree in environmental policy at Colorado College. It's a huge part of my life. And climate change can be boiled down to a very simple culprit. Sure, we can say it's burning greenhouse gas emissions, it's producing food that is energy inefficient, so it uses more water and fossil fuels to produce it. You know, that's why I'm vegan. Eating lower on the food chain is going to be more sustainable and less resource intensive than eating animals. But with all that, it can even be boiled down more simply to the problem of human overpopulation. If humans are the cause of climate change, if there were 1/1000th of the humans on this planet and our human population wasn't in rapid exponential growth as it is currently, climate change wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't even be a thing. It wouldn't even be a word. We wouldn't even know what it is, because the only reason burning fossil fuels is a problem is that there's so many people doing it and so many people eating meat. There's almost 8 billion people on the planet. Google it. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's astonishing how many people were on the planet 100 years ago, and then 200 years ago, and then 500 years ago. I think there were like less than 1 billion people on the planet 500 years ago or something. Again, I'm not looking at numbers, but go Google it. It's insane how rapidly our human population is growing, and we are the reason for climate change. So climate change is actually just even simpler than fossil fuels, water use. It's a problem of overpopulation. So I am biased with this information against humans because I honor that we're a parasite to the planet. That's just a fact. Thus, I'm even more pro-choice and pro-abortion. I'm not pro-abortion. I hope that no one ever has an abortion. I hope that everyone who gets pregnant hopefully wanted to and has that child. Sure, I'm not pro-abortion. I'm just saying if a woman does get pregnant, that the choice to have an abortion she should be able to do that 100% at any stage of the pregnancy for all the reasons I listed, just the rights for adult human women, and also just the fact that we have to stop having kids at such a rapid rate because that's the only reason that climate change exists. So I am thus biased towards saying, hey, let's have less children than having more children. So I'm more pro right to have an abortion because it means less children on the planet. What do you think of this video? Let me know. Do you think abortion is vegan and that I got my logic wrong? Do you think now, after hearing this information, that you are anti-choice when you thought you were pro-choice from a vegan logical statement? Just let me know everything you think of this video. Thank you so much for listening, and can't wait to talk in the comments. Much love, Dream Extreme.